participants, welcome back to the Game Dev Arena. We have another tutorial video with Google Admob ads. This is the rewarded ad. So one of those instances, say you're in a platformer, you die and you want to get an extra life, then you would have a rewarded video pop up, and then once that video has been seen, you get an extra life. And this is basically what the basis is behind our little project here. You can see I have a little platformer level, really simple, simplistic, nothing crazy. But the main thing that we're looking at, scroll in, is basically we're going to be looking at my little block. My little player here is going to fall down the spikes, and that's going to trigger the rewarded ad. I didn't add anything else. I just was playing with getting the rewarded ad to populate correctly. Of course, what would happen is the player hits a spike, and then they'll be asked whether they want to watch a video to get another life. So that's what we see here. I have this little NA basically as a label for whether the ad is loaded successfully. Let's go ahead. Now, when it comes to Google Admob, you're going to want to put the information for your rewarded ad, your banner ad, your interstitial inside of a GUI, which is you see here. I got my main collection, and then within that game object of rewarded ads, I have my rewarded ad GUI. So once the player does hit the spikes, it's going to send a message. So we can look up our player script. Maybe it'll populate. So we got our player script, not the game project, our player script. So once the player sends a collision response when it hits the spikes, it's gonna send a message to our rewarded ads GUI for the message rewarded ad mob section of our callback function. So let's go here, and we're gonna open up our rewarded ads. So basically our callback function is going to be called initially, and it's just going to wait until the player provides that message once it hits the spikes through that collision response through it. So we end up coming here. So that NA basically is going to change into rewarded as successful if everything works properly. So we'll take a look at just the project itself. Now, one thing I will take note, anything Google AdMob related will not work in just this instance here of the game. This is just showing you what will happen once you do start the game as an actual app. So, like I said, anything Google AdMob related for ads will not work in just the plain old Windows executable window if you're just doing the project build. But this is just to show exactly what's happening. So we go down, players just, and then it'll hit the spikes. And then once it hits the spikes, it'll send that message, and that message will populate a rewarded ad. So of course, we would need to do that on an Android emulator. Thankfully, I do have BlueStacks here, already have the project made up. So for those that have never done an Android bundle before, you would go to Bundle, Android Application, and then you just put it on the information, just a simple APK for testing purposes, debug, create that bundle, and then you'll be able to have an APK created that would populate into any Android emulator, or if you're using a phone, into an Android phone. So let's go ahead, we're going to open up the app. And from here, we're going to see, once it opens up, you'll see the player start to fall, players falling, We have our NA just as a little label to go along with the actual test ad. So hit the spikes. It's going to give it a second. Because there's a Android emulator, it does take a little bit. So let's see if we get it rolling. And you can already see that the test ad's coming up. Here's the test ad. So of course, like I said, normal circumstances, you would get a little message saying, yes, I want to watch a video to get an extra life once the player hit the spikes. Another test ad, guy basically saying, great job, you did a test ad, and walks off. And then reward granted, and then we're done. And you can see my message there also is populated. All right, we're going to close that out. We were able to see everything in action. So essentially what I did to accomplish that small little feat, we have our GUI script with our rewarded ads. Anything Google AdMob related, it's best to put it into a GUI and add that GUI to the main collection here. So here we have our callback function that takes all the messages and shows the rewarded ad once the event has been loaded. You got to make sure you have the correct information. This string here I got off of the Google AdMob website. It's the test rewarded ad, so you have to get that test stuff if you want to test it out. If you are using your stuff, you would get this off of your Google AdMob account once you create an account for your particular game. Google AdMob will provide that information for you with whether you're doing a banner ad, rewarded ad, interstitial, so on and so forth. Then we set all that stuff up, set the callback, make sure we get it initialized so that way everything is ready to go if the event happens to come out that you need to load something. Got that loaded ad, privacy settings, and then we have our little message ID that we get from the player once he hits the spikes. Now, I have tested this on a Galaxy A12, and the rewarded ads does pop up a lot faster because BlueStacks is an emulator on a Windows machine. It is a little bit slower, but maybe I'll create a video that shows how fast the rewarded ads actually pop up at a later time, make it a short or something. But once again, we have the player script, the collision for the player hitting the spikes starts here. We use the admob.msg underscore rewarded as that message ID for our callback function that'll load our test ad if you're using a test ad, or if you're using your own rewarded ad from your Google AdMob account, it'll show that as well. But that's all in all how I was able to get a rewarded ad to work in a Defold project. Be working on other stuff as far as the other ads. I got a lot of things coming up. Got a new opportunity to create a multiplayer battle online arena. So that's going to be nice to see. We'll see how that goes, but further updates in the upcoming weeks. But we got our rewarded ad successfully done. If you're able to get it done as well, leave a like. If you have any issues, leave a comment and I'll help as best as I can. But with that, it's game over.